2026 is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, of the birth of the United States of America. Revolution Untold uncovers the overlooked stories of the cradle of democracy, of the people that shaped a nation in Williamsburg, Virginia. The past is not complete until all its voices are heard. This is Revolution Untold.
My name is Rachel Findlay, and I'm a free Indian woman. I've not always been free, but now, in the year 1820, after 47 long, hard-fought years, I have gained my freedom, and the freedom of my children and their descendants. That freedom did not come easily. It came after decades of uncertainty, repeated trips to court, and years spent waiting while others decided whether I and my family could continue to be held in bondage. My fight spanned 2 freedom suits, nearly 50 years, a war for independence, and the birth of a new nation that spoke often of liberty, while denying it to people like me.
Rachel Findlay was born in the 1750s while held in bondage by William Mitchell Clay. From the moment she was born, however, her legal status was disputed. Rachel's family line included an indigenous grandmother, and that ancestry mattered deeply under Virginia law. Her grandmother had been captured and brought to Virginia, changing the fate of their family forever. Like many indigenous people in the region, she was caught in a system that relied on coercion and violence, even as laws struggled to define who could legally be enslaved. By the time Rachel was born, Virginia's laws governing who could be held in bondage were still being defined and contested. Those laws did not operate simply on ideas of race, but on legal status, rules that could determine a person's future from the moment of their birth. In Virginia, a key legal principle that held a child's status followed the status of the mother. Children born to free women were legally free. Children born to enslaved women could be held in bondage. These laws were not only abstract ideas written on paper. Like today, they shaped families, determined futures, and created the narrow legal openings that people like Rachel would later use to challenge their enslavement. For Rachel and her family, questions of ancestry and maternal lineage became central as legal arguments. Their indigenous descent, passed through the maternal line, was a matter of identity, and a crucial legal claim that could mean the difference between freedom and bondage.
I learned quickly that the law could be used to bind you, but it could also be used to fight. I learned the law moves slowly. Waiting was part of that fight. Waiting for hearings, waiting for decisions, waiting while years passed and my children grew. Waiting, stuck in between bondage and freedom, never wholly one thing in the eyes of the courts.
Rachel's case is best understood as a freedom suit, a legal action in which a person held in bondage petitioned the court to recognize their freedom. Freedom suits were difficult, costly, and risky. Petitioners faced long delays, hostile judges, and the constant threat of retaliation. But for people of indigenous and African descent, they were one of the few formal tools available to challenge unlawful enslavement within the legal system itself. Rachel did not bring her claim just once. She returned to court again and again. Her persistence reflects both the obstacles she faced and the determination required to pursue freedom through the courts.
I carried my claim across years of waiting, across people who did not want to hear it, across a country remaking itself.
Rachel's story also sits within a longer and often violent history of indigenous captivity and coerced labor in the region. Even when certain forms of Indian enslavement were restricted by law, enforcement was inconsistent, and illegal practices continued. For indigenous families, the courtroom became one of the few places where those contradictions could be exposed, and where claims to freedom could sometimes be made visible and legible to colonial authorities.
I watched a revolution promise liberty, even as my own freedom remained uncertain.
Over decades, Rachel returned to court more than once. Her legal fight, spanning 2 freedom suits, ultimately resulted in freedom for herself and for her children, securing their legal status for generations to come. By the time her case concluded in 1820, Rachel had not only changed her own life, but altered the futures of those who came after her. Rachel Findlay's case stands as a reminder that freedom in the early United States was not distributed equally. For many people, liberty was not assumed. It had to be argued, documented, and proven in court. Rachel's story reveals both the limits of American freedom and the ways Indigenous women used the law itself to challenge those limits.
I did not inherit freedom. I fought for it.
By sharing these stories, we remember more fully, understand more clearly, and expand the story of the American Revolution. Revolution Untold is generously supported by the Williamsburg 250 Commission, William and Mary Strategic Cultural Partnerships, and the Society of 1918 at William and Mary, and is made possible in part by a grant from VA 250 Commission in partnership with Virginia Humanities.